The Indian car market today offers you so much choice and variety in just about every segment that if you are a customer, you truly are king. But things get particularly interesting once you cross the 30 lakh rupee mark, because then you have access to proper luxury car brands, which is a very tempting proposition. Then of course there's the whole SUV and crossover revolution that's taken the market by storm. People will really pay a premium to be a little higher off the ground. So where does that leave a car like this? A big premium sedan from a mainstream car maker. Well, Toyota has just launched this, the brand new Camry Hybrid, and on paper it shows a lot of promise. So what I'm going to do is try and answer that question by driving this car today. You recognize this as a Camry pretty easily, especially at the front, because the styling is evolutionary, not revolutionary. The slim, swept-back headlamps actually remind me of the 2 generations old Camry, but for the most part it resembles the outgoing car. There's a similar gaping lower grille that's gotten positively massive now, while up top there's a much thinner band of chrome. The sides look a bit more curvaceous, while the window line dips elegantly over the doors, and there's quite a strong haunch over the rear wheel arch. Speaking of the wheels, they're now 18 inches in size with wider tires, which gives the car a much better stance. Larger, more shapely wraparound tail lamps make the rear look wider, and they should, as the car is larger overall. 35mm longer, 15mm wider, 25mm lower with a 50mm longer wheelbase. I personally like the way the Camry's evolved, but of course this can be quite subjective. Let's step inside and see what things are like there. But before we go any further, tell us what you think about the new Camry Hybrid. Would you rather have this or a car with a luxury badge on its nose? And be sure to like, subscribe and click the bell icon to be notified every time we make a new upload. It's clear the moment you step inside that Toyota has done a lot to make this Camry interior stand out from the crowd. It's certainly a far cry from the rather basic looking interior of the previous generation Camry. There is a lot to like about it, like the quality, which has taken a huge step up. There's even a nice use of soft touch materials here and here. But there are a couple of things I'm not too sure about. The design itself, it's a bit hit or miss, it could go either way. And I'm not so sure about the use of this light colored faux wood trim. It just doesn't do it for me. There are other things I like in this cabin though, like the big plush front seats, which are power adjusted with memory for the driver, and the equipment list, which includes goodies like cooled front seats, a wireless mobile charger, and electric adjustment for the steering column. Another cool feature for this car is the heads-up display, and that aside, there's quite a vast list of goodies for you to choose from. That said, I wish the touchscreen interface was a little slicker and more modern. It feels a bit dated and doesn't feature Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Around the back you'll find a huge boot, and that's despite the fact that there's a full-size spare with an alloy wheel under the floor. Now though on paper the new Camry Hybrid doesn't seem all that different under the skin, that couldn't be further from the truth. Let's drive. Now I've just set off in the new Toyota Camry and first impressions are really rather good. It starts with the visibility. The dashboard is relatively low, the A-pillars are really thin, and even these door sills are very low, so you get a great view outside. It also helps that the mirrors have been repositioned from the A-pillar down to the doors, and that eliminates that little bright spot that you might have got over there. So let's get on to the powertrain then. Well, Toyota says it's an all-new 2.5 litre petrol engine, and when mated to the electric motors, it puts out a total output of 218 horsepower. On its own, the 2487cc 4-cylinder engine puts out 178 horsepower and 221 Nm of torque, and the permanent magnet synchronous motor it's combined with produces 88 kilowatts or 120 horsepower and 202 Nm of torque. But of course the maximum output supplied to the road is less than the sum of those numbers. Still, 218 horsepower is hardly what you'd call weak. Now considering that healthy power output, performance doesn't exactly feel electrifying. Yes, put it into sport mode and it will get a move on when you put your foot down. But you do feel a bit of strain from the CVT gearbox at all times. What is nice though is that old school naturally aspirated engine feel. These days in bigger cars we're used to turbocharged petrol engines, and it's nice to have an engine that really revs out when you go for it. You can also feel a little bit of electric assist coming in when you press down hard on the accelerator. So yes, don't expect class-leading acceleration numbers. Instead, drive this car a little gently and you'll be rewarded with smooth, brisk performance. In fact, be very light on the throttle and it will stick to the silent, electric-only EV mode. While there's juice in the batteries, of course. Now in the handling department, yes, there has been a little bit of improvement. The steering has a bit more weight to it and it does feel quite quick. But no, this big sedan is not a handling car, that's for sure. Prefers to be driven at a slightly leisurely pace around corners. Now of course, this being a hybrid, fuel economy is very important. We were really impressed by the new Honda Accord when it came out and the real world figures it achieved in our tests. And of course, this being a rival for that car, they've tried to best it. Toyota claims a fuel economy figure of over 23 kpl, and who knows, depending on your driving style, that might actually be possible. What I find immediately compared to the previous car is that this one's far more eager to charge the batteries. The moment you lift off the accelerator, it immediately enters coasting mode, and you can see the little graphic working here to tell you where the power is going. And right now I've done that, I've switched to EV mode, and it's charging the batteries just by lifting off. Yes, the last car functioned in the same way too, but the rate at which this new one harvests electric power is way higher. And Toyota tells us the petrol engine is far more efficient on its own too. The brakes actually have quite a lot of bite and you have to be a little bit careful when you first use them, because they are of course regenerative brakes and every tap of the pedal contributes towards filling up the battery again. The result of all this is that I haven't really seen the battery charge go down to a critical level, not something I could always say of the previous Camry. And what that means on the whole is that you can spend a lot more time in EV mode using zero petrol. And that's only a good thing, right? Also, the transition from petrol to EV mode and vice versa feels a lot more seamless this time around. So now that we're done with the chauffeur's experience, let's find out what it's like for the CEO. Now, as the owner of a Camry, this is the seat you're likely to spend most of your time in, so let's talk about that. The wheelbase has been increased by about 50 millimeters, and that's done wonders for the already great legroom, as you can probably tell. Toyota has also made it a point not to fall prey to the trend of swoopy rooflines, and they've maintained quite a good amount of headroom here. I'm only about 5'8", but I can tell that there's a lot more room to stretch out. Now apart from that, there is actually quite a lot to be excited about in this back seat. The seat itself, it's really plush, it's really soft, it's really well cushioned and you can really sink into it. It's also wide enough to fit 3 passengers quite comfortably, but if you're sat by yourself, what you're going to do then is pull down this armrest, pop open the cup holders, click on this lovely touch sensitive control panel here and control everything from the temperature, the audio system, the rear sunshade, and yes, this car's party piece, the seat back recline. Now admittedly, it's not a huge recline amount, but it does wonders for making this car feel just a little bit more luxurious, doesn't it? Other good bits in the back are a pair of USB ports you can use to charge 2 devices, and of course the ability to move the front passenger seat from the back. Now, ride quality has also seen an improvement thanks to the new platform. Because of the 50mm increase in wheelbase, it gets a more planted feel on the road, and they managed to fit independent rear double wishbone suspension, and that's also done wonders. The old car did feel quite soft, even though it was comfortable. Over bumps you'd find a little bit of pitter-patter, but this one keeps it together much better. At the start of this video, I posed a question about where cars like the new Camry Hybrid fit in the current market scenario. You see, about 15 years ago, these were the go-to luxury cars in India. Today, however, they do have to work a whole lot harder to keep up with the BMWs, Mercs, Audis and Jags of this world. And I'm happy to report that the new Camry has worked a whole lot harder. The new platform means it's bigger, more spacious and more comfortable. Plus, it's also more plush on the inside and better equipped too. Then you have to factor in the advantage of the hybrid drive, which should offer truly incredible fuel economy. Now you might think this car is a bit expensive, but you have to remember that it undercuts the likes of the A4, 3 Series and C-Class on price. Yes, it's not the most exciting car to drive and it does lack that badge clout, but if you're willing to look past that, what you have is a very competent car that can keep up with the very best of luxury cars at this price.